Musa's 20.
Yep.
And because Musa's 20, the what you could get out of a 20-year-old, 6'9", damn near ambidextrous, that has a lefty finish at the rim, that what that guy could be is tantalizing. And Luau Cabarro is 25 years old. Like, he's not going to get much better. I would invest more time in Chiozza than and even though I don't think they like his size, it's weird. The Nets like small forwards and front court players, but they like big guards.
Yep.
It's, but still, point being, for developing someone like a Tyler who could go forward with them, even though I don't think that's how they're thinking at all. I think they're basically going, it's a player we like. Let's see how it goes. And I don't know. Like, I'd rather, Chris Chiozza is not young either. It just goes to show like what the upside could be on Musa. Chiozza's 24 years old. To start to see his final form, which is a fringe NBA player, good, gutty, smart. I think he could be really good. I think I'm seeing, not the same size and physicality of a Fred VanVleet, and I hope I'm not just typecasting light skinned brothers, but I think Chiozza has a little bit of that. Like, I'm not the most talented guy, but when I play minutes on the floor, special things are gonna happen. It took him to be 24 years old, and he's going to be 25 on the season, to be who he is. I see guys like Musa and Claxton and even Jarrett, and I go, what are those guys going to be when they're 24? 3 years from now, 3 whole seasons from now, what are they going to be? And I worry, but I don't know. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the bubble playoffs. I want to, at first, before we get to the sad part of whether it's going to happen or not, or even whether it should happen or not, we'll touch that on the other side of this. But how do you see them lining up in these last few games, and what do you think they're trying to accomplish?
In terms of the Nets specifically, or the league?
Well, let's talk about the Nets specifically, and then we can talk about the league.
So I mean, obviously, like, so much of this just kind of depends on. I always think, I know I brought it up earlier in this podcast already. I always think that, from what vantage point, like, a coach is taking a season, I think is always ends up shaping stuff. So you always have, like, I mean, we've seen it with like every other Knicks year, right? The Knicks end up never developing talent because their coach is always playing for his job, and because of that, he ends up playing the 28 and 29 and 30-year-old guys instead of the 22-year-old guys, and so those guys, and so the younger ones never develop. So that's why I'm interested in terms of what Jacques Vaughn is like gonna do and what he's gonna try to do. Like, if he views this more, which we'll see what he does either way. Like, if he views this more as a test run for not his job, but maybe just as like, let's see what we got here, which guys are meant to be here, which guys aren't, which guys do I think can play with Kyrie and KD next year, who can't, then I think, like, it could be really interesting, because I think there's a lot of guys on the team who have a ton of talent. I mean, like, as we talked about on the last podcast, like, I think the team generally, even with how these two top 10 monsters who are out right now, like, they have just a ton of talent, and they got to figure out who fits and who doesn't, and who's excess. So, like, I think actually, and this also kind of relates to the last point we were talking about, like, when you talk about someone like Garrett Temple or even Taurean Prince, who I'm not a big fan of either, like at a certain point with some of these guys, like, if they're not really going to be shooting that well, and if their defense is going to be like mediocre, like, you might as well, like, the Nets would have been better off like just having fill-in guys to do that dirty work, and then just have their more talented scoring guys take up those shots, because they're going to go in with a higher percentage. So, like, I don't know how you felt about this, but I felt like Shumpert, when he was playing earlier in the year, was doing like everything he was asked for. and he was basically doing his role. He wasn't really taking up shots from anybody else. He could still space the floor, even though he wasn't even shooting that well. But it still helped, and he generally wasn't clogging up the lane. So I mean, I'm interested generally to see like just what Vaughn views the season as, and we're probably going to know soon, like very soon after, right? Because if guys like Musa and I would bet that TLC won't play that much with Vaughn because he seemed like more of a Kenny guy. But like, if certain of those guys aren't getting any minutes, and you're seeing a lot of Prince and a lot of Temple and a lot of DeAndre, especially if you're seeing a lot of DeAndre Jordan, then you know who Vaughn is trying to appease.
Right.
Like, I think we're gonna know quickly. But if he goes with more of a youth movement and tries to bring Kuruks and Musa and Chioza back a little bit into the mix, then I think it'll be a different vibe. But that's kind of what I'm looking for off the bat.
So and I agree. I think let me address it like this, right? Because just repeating what you said, isn't entertaining. Jacques Vaughn wants to win a round. And I think he's going to play the team, the players he think will let him win a round and close the door on anybody taking his job. I think the Tyler Johnson signing signals a couple of things, right? Like, not only is it a player that it signals one thing, that he's a player that they like and they still like him.
Yep.
And then it also signals that he wants to be competitive, that they're not going into this laying down. And I also believe that and this is a belief, the signing doesn't make this a statement, but I believe this to be true, without any evidence, of course, that Tyler Johnson is a sign that maybe Sean Marks is kind of growing tired of some of this Kyrie stuff, and it's exhausting. It's exhausting for a team. It's exhausting for a group, and the Tyler Johnson signing wasn't a friend of Kyrie signing. It wasn't a signing that says, you know what, let me just appease this guy, sign another one of his buddies while I can, and maybe that'll keep him calm, or through the off season, that he got another one of his buddies to hang out with him in the locker room. I thought they went out and got a guy that they like, that they targeted, that they've been, seeing. And I hope that means that Sean Marks is getting institutional control of the team, because it really, like, even the interviews he was doing with my guy on WFAN. Why am I getting Evan's name?
Evan Roberts.
Evan Roberts, obviously,
yeah.
Right? But Evan has had the best interviews with Sean Marks overall, and it's because he asks him the questions that we want to know, right? And there's always this, this strong kind of like, I run the show, I'll answer what I really want to answer or not answer. We're a tight-lipped organization. I come on these shows, I don't really tell you anything, I don't share anything with you. And then all of a sudden, the Nets aren't tight-lipped anymore. All of a sudden, things are leaking all over the place. All of a sudden, we're media darlings. Like, we're first. I mean, that comes with having superstars. Before, nobody cared, right? Now that we have Kyrie and KD, people care. But I still think Sean Marks is starting to go, you know what? This whole situation is getting out of control. I need to get control of this thing. I'm in charge. This is a player I like. And, fine. KD, Kyrie aren't coming to play. Screw them. We're going to go out here and try to win, and we're going to show that we could do it without them. I think there's a little bit of that. Am I crazy for thinking that?
No, I think you're right. I mean, I definitely think him getting a guy like that versus getting a guy that, let's say, is someone Kyrie or KD is close with, or someone who's been rumored to be signed by them for a while. I agree with you. I think that does mean something. I think all these signings, especially with Marks, are carefully done, and I think I'm sure he does have an element of like, look, the the coach that I handpicked was just I just had to fire him. Like I got to gain some type of.
He's from New Zealand, Sam.
Yeah.
His countrymen do a Warriors dance before they play rugby. This is not going over well with this guy. Sean Marks is a 7-foot surfer. You got to be tough to be 7 feet tall and get on a little ass surfboard and surf. Like, this guy is not a soft guy. This is I know he has to bite his tongue because it's the price of doing business. You don't win without superstars. But this is not the Spurs way. He's a Spurs guy. And the most antithetical to what the Spurs believe in guy in the NBA is Kyrie Irving. And I know some of this is wearing on him. Can I tell you a strange... I want to play this thing. And I'm going to test out if my barbaric podcasting equipment actually records it in any kind of way. But I thought Amin Hassan had Amin. The way they say it on ESPN, Amin El Hassan, Amin Al Hassan, went on Ethan Strauss's podcast, The House of Strauss, and I thought he had such a sober take on Kyrie that I'd play it, and I'm gonna see if I could if this works. If it doesn't work, it's our early podcast days. We'll look back on this fondly, like old Joe Rogan podcast. Let's see if this works. Take a listen, everybody, to what Ethan had this. I mean, what Amin had to say on Ethan Strauss's show.
It feels like everything is very tense.
He's hanging out with more black people.
Apparently, I mean, nobody's hanging out in general right now. I mean, it's sort of the problem, or one of the many.
But anyways, the point being is like there's a group of people who just exist for the social media aspect of this. They don't exist for anything meaningful beyond that. It's the same reason why it's okay for a group of, for the $200 million man to just be lashing out without an actual plan to articulate other than I'm not the other guy. And meanwhile, you have a bunch of kids who haven't earned a dime to their names in Texas basically say, this, or we ain't playing. We're not doing your booster events. We're not doing all. Like, think about how organized a bunch of college students who literally, 75% of them will probably have no career after this, after playing football at Texas, and the other 25% are going to a league where this kind of stuff is going to be held against you, rather than right. Think of those are the risks that those young men took.
NBA superstars and stars just have a level of leverage that we just don't see elsewhere. Like elsewhere, it's like you're replaceable.
And so the important thing to understand here is that I'm not sitting here telling them that they should or shouldn't play. I don't know. Yeah. If I were a player, I don't know how I would feel.
Take the activist aspect out of it. If I have a large family and you're saying to me that I might spend months in a bubble, and I mean, what percentage of their salaries is it necessarily? I'm trying to think of what percentage the salary is, but I mean, it's defensible just to not do it because you don't want to do it. This is a crazy thing to ask.
That's a different. Well, see,
this is my favorite part right now.
There is a significant portion of players I believe who are trepidatious about playing, but the reasons behind that trepidation are varied. There are some who are, of the school of thought, like, we don't want to be a distraction. That's a real thing that some players are feeling. There are some who are like, I don't want to go because I'm not trying to catch COVID. I don't think this is safe.
Yeah, Joe Eagle's son has an immune issue. I can't remember what it is, but you would be particularly vulnerable. I think it would be understandable if you wanted to skip out on this.
Right. Another portion are saying, I don't want to go after not doing anything for 3 months and have a catastrophic injury happen to me and that impact my future earning potential. Right? There's 3 schools, at least.
And I think those 3 schools are like important to think about. Like, I come to find out, I don't think Avery Bradley wanted to sit out because of he's an activist for the Black Lives Movement. Maybe that was a portion of it.